All right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and you are now tuned into the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. Today, we have a very interesting show for you. I'll put it that way. We're going to be talking a little bit about the process. When I say the process, what I mean is the journey or the mind of an entrepreneur. How exactly does that mind work? What do you need to develop to sort of dive into that mind and to harness it for success? I have with me the king of branding himself, Mr. Shan Raiz. Shan, what's up?
What's going on, sir? How are you doing? Phenomenal morning, sir.
Yes, it is. It is a phenomenal morning indeed. Man, I mean, it's sunny, blue skies, no complaints. No
Yeah, of course it
complaints.
is. Of course it is. In St. Lucia, of course it is. It always is. What's ever different over there, man?
Let me tell you, guys, that is a myth, right? That is a myth that that's going around, right? It's always sunny. It's not always sunny, Shan. It's not always sunny. Maybe 80% of the time.
Maybe 80. Okay. I love it. I love it.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you need to bring some of those mangoes, show some of those sun drenched, sun
Oh,
washed
yes.
mangoes.
Yeah, you're right. I might, you know what? Let me see if I can pull up a quick. I see we
Oh
have
no, not
shade.
a pic, not a picture, the real thing. You have to
Oh,
bring
the
the
real
real
thing.
thing.
Guys, check
Yeah, the
this
real
out.
thing.
You can see, if you can see
There,
this.
yeah, there. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. There it
Yeah,
is. That's right.
that came
That's right.
from right at the back there. Right. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, man, it's absolutely amazing, right? Listen, I want to say a quick good morning to everybody tuning in. Put a number one in the chat if you could hear me clearly. Put a number two if you can see me clearly. Let's make sure that we are we rolling on 100.
Yeah, I just saw Shade said something about maybe no visual. So let's see. Okay, okay. So
We good on
we
the
good on
audio.
okay, we good on Facebook. It seems like maybe on LinkedIn there might be a black screen. So let's take
Okay.
a look at that.
Yeah. So while Mr. B is working on that, I do want to continue the conversation and just welcome the people in. So guys, first of all, put some flames in the chat if you're happy to be alive. Right. Today is a phenomenal day. Listen, a lot of people didn't make it, but you're here. So let's
Mm,
put those flames in. Also, let us know where you're listening in from. Now, I could see we have. In fact, let's bring up a few people here, right?
okay.
I see Shade. So Shade, good morning.
Phenomenal morning, brother.
Phenomenal morning, Shade. All right, I see Tamika. Tamika, good morning.
Phenomenal morning. Let's go.
Charmaine, good morning.
Phenomenal morning.
I see Tasha.
How they say it in the
Michelle.
top of the morning. Top
Top
of the
top of the
morning.
morning. Top of the
Yeah,
morning. Yeah.
top of the morning.
Top of the morning. Yeah, yeah. Michelle, good morning. So one and two. So Michelle could see us. She could hear us. That's phenomenal. Tasha. So the powerhouse Johnson. I already know. The
Phenomenal morning.
Bronx. Phenomenal morning. We have some more people tuning in. So Sonia, good morning. See
Phenomenal
Detroit.
morning. Morning. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go.
Yeah. So Shan, we are due for a commercial break in 2 minutes, but before we do that, I want to sort of give people a little preview of what's to come. In fact, I want to ask a question. How many of you now? Everybody knows about the 80-20 rule, right? Everybody knows about the 80-20 perspective, the 80-20 rule, I would assume. Like, it's been around for quite some time, right? My
Correct.
question to everybody looking is how many of you believe that success in business is 80% mindset, 20% skill set? Put that in the chat. Put a number one if you agree, put a number two if you do not agree. So, how many of you think it's 80% mindset, 20% skill set? Or do you think it's 20% mindset, 80% skill set? What do you
Hmm.
think? That's an interesting, Sean, the 80-20 rule is something we cannot escape. It's just something that it's in all facets of life, especially in business. 20% of the people get 80% of the results.
Mm,
It's a
definitely.
really fascinating thing. So I see most people are agreeing with the 80-20 rule. This is pretty good because when we come back after this break, I'm gonna be asking Shan a few questions to sort of dive into the mind of an entrepreneur, a real, authentic entrepreneur in the truest sense, right? And to sort of get a feel or an idea of the way that entrepreneurs think, what is the mindset that goes into the skill set. So
Mhm.
just all I could say is make sure you have your pens ready, make sure you have your notebooks ready, because when we come back, I'm going to be revealing the method to the madness, the method to the madness,
Yes, sir.
and
Yes, sir.
sort of making sense. And Bruce Lee said something, right, Shan? Bruce Lee said that the best tactic is no tactic.
Ooh.
That's all I'm gonna say. Mr. B, take us to a break. Let's
CSA. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. Clarify. Be clear about what you want. Clear about your vision. Clear about your goals. Clear about the impact. Clear about the legacy. How many generations do you want this business to go on? And then simplify. So you think big, you expand, then you contract. Think big and then you think small and focus on the one thing. And then when you lock on it, you set it on fire, brother. Make them sick of you. Listen, the more people unsubscribe from your stuff, the better. The wrong ones take a walk. The right ones show themselves in.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. Keep putting the flames in the chat. I do see it. So I want to say good morning to Jackie. Morning to Jackie. You have a few other people on Facebook. If you could put your name in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated. We have Amal. Amal, good morning. Janisha, good morning. Listen, you need to get your pens locked and loaded. I'm about to welcome Shan back, and we're about to talk about the keys, the secrets. This is what the experts they just don't know, right? The experts don't know, and what the gurus on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram will never tell you. So this is it. Shan, let's talk about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, this is unscripted, so I don't really know exactly where we headed. So go ahead, ask the question, and I'll see if I can't oblige the people.
Definitely. So I think my first question revolves around the process. So how does an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, think when it comes to problem solving? Let's talk about that first, because we know that business is basically about solving problems. You solve problems for profit, you solve problems to cause impact. So, what is your approach to problem solving? How do you think when it comes to that?
Appreciative inquiry. Um, when it comes to solving problems and finding out what the problem is, I have an innate curiosity, um, an innocence of curiosity. Like I don't know the answer. I don't go in with a pre-planned arrival at a destination. I don't know where we're headed. Like I know the general direction, but I don't know exactly where we're headed. So it's a discovery process, right? It's a discovery process rooted in not knowing. It's a knowing and not knowing. So I'm comfortable in my skin and I'm comfortable in my competency and my ability to find the destination, but I don't know what that destination is. So it has to be intuitive. It has to be I would say faith based, faith in your own ability to arrive at the correct destination, and then sensitivity. So when I say sensitivity, I mean being open to the elements so that you can feel without predetermination or preconditioning. Because when people are predetermined, they tend to arrive at the same solution all the time for different people. So it's kind of like having a cookie cutter approach to every situation, and for everybody, the solution is the same, and that's not the client centered way. That's not the human centered way, and it's not a strengths based perspective. A strengths based perspective basically states that the client knows the way, and then we are intuitive enough to listen, listen internally, listen to what's being said, but also listen to what's not being said, and then kind of feel and intuit what the next best thing is when it comes to that process. So I can speak to five different people and have five different solutions to the same problem based on who I'm speaking to.
That's very interesting. When you talk about going in with that sort of approach when it comes to problem solving, I can see how the typical entrepreneur may feel fear, meaning that it's something that is relatively new. It's out of their comfort zone. And oftentimes, the solution to the problem may require them to do stuff that they would not normally do, or they have no idea how. So, I guess my next question is, how much of a role does the management of fear? So, number one, do you have fear in those moments, right? When you have to tackle a problem that that of course you don't know the solution to because you've never dealt with the problem. It's a new problem, right? So it's the unknown, and perhaps the solution that is required is asking you to go into a new space that you have no idea whether or not you will fail because you've never done it before. I typically see people get fearful, so either they get excited or they get fearful. So, how much of a degree or a role does the management of fear have in success when it comes to solving problems? So, number one, do you actually have a degree of fear, right? Moving into those problem solving situations? And if so, how much does that play? The management, right? Management is the key word here of that fear as you move into those scenarios.
Fear, no. Fear I don't have. Will I know that I'll be successful? Yes. And when I say successful, there's degrees and there's levels of success, right? So I don't ever, you said a word that doesn't really exist for me, and that's failure. For me, failure is learning, right? So I learned the way not to do something. I learned this way leads here, and maybe that's not the way we're supposed to go. So I learned how to go the right way, and I pivot fast. So losing is not an option. It's not a reality. It's a perception. A loss is a perception. So someone else's obstacle is my opportunity. Someone else's loss is my learning. And they're learning. And I often help clients see opportunities and obstacles. And that's one of my gifts is my ability to control the narrative. So that's what someone should be writing down right now, controlling the narrative, because for some people there's fear, for other people there's electricity and excitement, right? And the enlightenment. So fear often comes from the X factor or going into the unknown. Some people run from it, other people run to it. Most business successes, most people in life who are successful run into it excitedly, not fearfully, because when you bring to life your own demons. So we have a creative mind, right? We have a creative mind, and our creative mind creates life. It literally creates life. It creates energy. It creates shadows that move, right? And it creates money in your bank account as well. It creates a business where you have clients. I literally saw what I was doing at the it was interesting because at the event that we did in Myrtle Beach 2 weekends ago, or was it last weekend? It may have been last weekend or the week before that. I talked about something that I had drawn out on a whiteboard. Mr. B actually had the drawing of the whiteboard and he shared it with me. I just drew it out and then we were living in it now. Like literally us, me and you right now on this call, and the people on the call are living in something that I drew 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Right? So watch this. Some people created cancer. I created a program in a community. Some people 3 years ago brought the fear of cancer to life. They felt something, they thought about something, and that's where their focus went. Their focus went into mom had cancer, dad had cancer. I don't feel good. What is this feeling? It must be cancer. And they went on and they went on and they went on and they brought into their body a manifestation of illness that became a cancer. Me, I designed something, focused on it, fed it, nurtured it, gave it life, and it's a community, and it's a business, and it's a living, breathing organism where people are finding fulfillment, building businesses, and making money. So our mind, the ability to control the narrative and control our thinking will determine whether you bring to life blessings, burdens, demons, destiny, right? It's bringing to life or bringing to death. We literally have the creative process in our minds. I know that might sound a little uh, out there, right? It might be an
Right.
otherworldly answer, a conceptual answer to a contextual question, but does that make sense?
It does. It does to me. So, guys, put a number one in the chat if that makes sense to you.
Some people argue with their spouse, and the energy they feed it creates in a divorce or reconciliation, a phenomenal reuniting and a phenomenal relationship created. Oh, okay. So watch this. Let me give you an example. People who have been together for 80 years, literally like 80 years, people who have married their sweetheart in college and say we got 60 years together. Do you think they didn't argue? Do you really believe that they didn't go through some of the rough stuff? Of course they did. And it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. So watch this. Back to the example. The family or the man and the woman who have survived 60 years of marriage, it's not that they didn't experience storms, it's that they protected themselves from the storm and they focused on the best thing, which was staying together. the people that have 5 different marriages, when things got rough, they may have protected themselves from the storm, but ultimately divorce was an option. And because divorce was an option, they gave it more power and more focus, and then they created the terms under which they separated. The other family, the other unit that stayed together, created the reasons why they will never separate and must stay together. So it's the same situation, different realities based on perceptions and controlling the narrative. Now, the entrepreneur, and I put this in the first book, The 7 Prerequisites to Success, where Steve Jobs, was it Steve? No, not Steve Jobs, but we know Steve Jobs was fired and came back to Apple. But Virgin,
Richard Branson.
Branson. So Richard Branson had his door pushed in by a bank manager who told him, if you don't secure us our 60 million by this time, we're going to take Virgin away from you. Do you understand? So entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs use small reasons to stop and say, oh, this isn't working. It'll never work. It's not meant to work. I'm a failure. I'm not going to be successful. Whereas success stories met those hard spots and kept overcoming them and overcoming them and overcoming them based on their ability to control the narrative and control their character. Because sometimes conditions will change your character and determine that you lose based on your character. Whereas in other situations, we grow from pressure, and that creates integrity of character and successful businesses. Same
Very
situation,
good.
same situation, different responsiveness, different responsibility is the ability to respond. So I want you to think of the way you respond to situations in terms of your responsibility and where you're trying to go. Most people, now this is the thing, the successful keep the goal, the long-term goal in mind, and that's the biggest thing to them. Whereas the people who the failure or put off their success, they don't look at something happens that changes their focus from the long-term goal to the immediate situation. And then the immediate situation causes them to change their character or direction, thus altering the ability to be successful.
You said a lot there.
I know.
I have a couple questions, right? Number one, and I'm looking for a one word answer for this one.
Okay.
If you had to call the so we're talking about the Richard Bransons, the Steve Jobs, the people that possess this characteristic that you're speaking of. If we could put a label on that thing, if you could describe it in one word, I know, right? Very interesting, right? And I'm talking about the characteristic because it's a characteristic, but really and truly, what is it? If there was a word that could describe the character trait of somebody who is a successful entrepreneur, like Mr. Richard Branson, like Steve Jobs, and like others who possess this thing, what would we call that thing?
I'm caught between two.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
caught
Let's see.
between two.
Let's say both of them.
One is leadership. That's the first one, leadership, because your ability to lead or fulfill or respond ably is your ability to control your narrative first. Control you. You have to lead you before you can lead anyone else. So that's it, leadership. And everybody we spoke on have thousands of people and hundreds of thousands of people behind them now. So they had to do it for themselves first. It's leadership and then discipline. Discipline. In war, when you hear a gunshot, the natural response, immediate learned response is to run, right? Flee. However, through discipline, first responders and soldiers are trained against convention to run towards the gunfire. And that's discipline. That's also the ability to lead and control first themselves, then the situation, and then others. It would be leadership or discipline, one of the two, or a variation of either.
Very good. So this leads me to the next question. Now, what you said about choosing the perspective, I always tell people the reason why you cannot do something is most likely the reason why you need to do it. So, like, I mean, think about it. I can't, you can't do something. That's why you need to do it. Like people say, okay, I can't afford this. Well, the fact that you can't afford it is why you need to do it, right? If you really think about it. But how does somebody develop that perspective? So let's talk about the regular person just starting up as an entrepreneur, moving into business, right? How do they begin to develop the character trait or the discipline to move their perspective? Now, it's easy when you have a coach, right? But when you're flying, when the coach is not around, how do you develop the discipline to shift the perspective from this is not something I can do to this is something that I need to do?
Look at the examples. So I think you asked one question, and I had one answer for that, but then you kind of asked the concrete question, which was different than what I was thinking. So the first answer to what I thought you were going to say was to do it because you must, and if you can't see yourself being able to be exercise to exercise, is change the identity. So it's actually take part in the action. Um, Add more. So if your physical is not right and you know you need to work out, then work out. Start at 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, then 20 minutes. That's how they start. That's how people learn how to become runners. They learn how to become runners from becoming walkers. People learn how to become runners by becoming walkers. First they walk, and that's something that people don't do. But people look at becoming runners and say, how can I become a runner? It's so far away. And the way you become a runner is to become a walker. And then after walking for 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 90 days, begin to pick up your pace. Begin to walk faster. Begin to walk faster and keep continuing to walk faster until you're jogging. And now you're a jogger. Now you're a jogger. And then jog faster, building your resilience. Someone mentioned resilience. This is integrity, the ability to say something and do it. That's what integrity means, being integral and being able to integrate your word and your action as one. So from walking and then walking faster, we become a jogger. And from jogging faster, we become a runner. So it's a process. That's number one. But then the answer that you ended up asking me was what they do to become, or what they do perceptually to become the person, or realize that they need to take the action. And that, I would say, the answer to that is look at those who didn't. Go to a nursing home. Les Brown says something. He said that most of the dreams are in the graveyard. But I would take it a step before the graveyard. And I would say go to a nursing home and do a qualitative interview. Do a qualitative interview of the people there. Number one, it'll be humbling for you to see that. Number two, it'll teach you so much about life. It'll teach you humility and how to be humble. It'll teach you about the human condition, right? It'll probably teach you away from bias, because at the end, you'll see that people are very much the same at that stage. But do a qualitative interview and ask them, those who are 80, those who are 90, those who are tasked with or confronted with leaving soon. and ask them what they would have done differently. And then at the state of 36, 40 years old and no money and a relationship that's not working or the perceived inability to work out, all of that'll change for you. All of that'll change for you. And if it stays the same, that speaks to your character. But if you open yourself and you undergo this process and you really receive and listen in order to learn, if you do this process and you listen in order to learn, it will remove all fear and increase the intensity of the necessity and the requirement to move now consistently, because that's what they'll tell you. If I only knew then what I know now, I would have taken so many more chances. I would have made so many more investments. I would have stopped doing what I thought I needed to do and did more of what I wanted to do. I would have chased my dream because I could have done something magnificent and meaningful. And a lot of us are stopping ourselves from doing something meaningful and magnificent because we're stuck in the instant and the moment.
That was super powerful. Guys, we're about to go to a break in 60 seconds, right? But before we do, I want you to put on a scale of 1 to 10, how has this show been so far? Put it in the chat. Also, put some flames in the chat. And don't forget to like this video. Definitely keep the comments coming and also share with one other person who needs this information. Today, we're talking about mindset. Mindset is 80% of the work, 80% of what you need, the ingredients for success. So, this is super, super important. Now, I have a couple questions for Shan when we come back, but keep those flames coming, right? Keep those flames coming. And we're definitely going to dive a little deeper once we come back. Take us to the break, Mr. B. Let's go.
Let's go.
Five pins less than $10. One pin almost $2,000. When people come to me, I always say, what is your number? And when they say 500, I say, let's put a zero behind it. And then figure out the packaging, figure out the presentation, figure out the place where you're going to present it, and figure out the people that you're going to give it to. Because I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. But in those 5 P's, brother, presentation, packaging, place, people, price. They will pay the price because they have paid the price and they are paying the price. Now the question is, are you getting the price? Five W framework. If you want to take your money to the next level, you got to reevaluate some things. It's not doing something different. It's doing something better. So the first W, who? Simple. Who do you do what you do for? What do you really do? Where do you do it? When do you do it for your ideal client in their lifetime? For God's sakes, why do you do what you do, man?
All right, guys, we are back. And I see the flames coming in. Right? So I know you've been enjoying the show. Listen, we're about to go even deeper into the mindset of a successful entrepreneur. So, Shan, let's go a little bit deeper into this, right? So let's see. All right.
Let's do it.
So let's talk about the B2B event. And I know a couple people who are the B2B event. In fact, if you are the B2B, just put a number two in the chat. In fact, hashtag B2B if you are the B2B event. I'm talking about the business to brand bootcamp. If you actually at the bootcamp,
Myrtle
hashtag
Beach Mastermind.
B2B Myrtle Beach.
The
Now,
Myrtle
something
Beach
interesting
Mastermind.
happened, right? Something interesting there happened, right? So, from what I heard, from what I know, right, the for those of you who don't know what I'm referring to, so we had originally set the event at one location, and I think a day, just one day, literally 24 hours. I believe 1 or 2 days, if I'm not mistaken. You'll correct me. Before, in fact, one day. So just
Yeah,
one day
yeah.
before the actual event, the whole venue got changed. So Shan, my question to you is number one, why the change? And number two, what is the mindset around the change?
The change happened because I determined through the experience that it needed to. A variety of factors, a variety of factors, misalignment, misunderstanding, not rising to the occasion, under fulfillment, gaps in customer service. And I'll leave it there for sake of professionalism. I'll just leave it there. I don't want to say anything bad. It wasn't because something was bad. It was because something wasn't up to standard or up to brand standards. Right. So it's not because something was bad, it's because it just wasn't up to brand standards. That's all. And the mindset was it's not about me. Right. And it's not about safety. It's about right. And right comes with risk. Right. So that's probably a writing moment. Right, RIGHT, comes with risk. So I am very, very, very comfortable in an uncertain situation, right? I'm super comfortable in so confidence comes from competence. I know I have the competence, so I'm super comfortable. So if someone throws a monkey wrench at the last minute, I'm not gonna respond like, oh, it's the last minute. We'll just stay with it because it's the last minute. No, if I see something, I don't care if I'm in the ninth inning, bottom of the ninth base is loaded. We're going to change the whole thing because it's not about me. It's not about lack of risk. It's about creating the most phenomenal experience for the phenomenal clients, the people that are willing to that have trust in my leadership to give them the best possible example. I'm going to go to the dying breath to make sure that takes place, no matter what. And that's what we did. So at the last minute, I saw something, I said something, and I switched something.
Interesting. Now, tell us more about the mindset. It's like it's a no-brainer, right? The So what I mean when I say mindset, let me dive a little bit deeper. So the regular person, they'll just be like, it's less than 24 hours. And let's say, even if they wanted to, right? What are the things that go into making that successful? And I can give you one example. Urgency. A sense of urgency is one characteristic that somebody would need to deploy, right? I'm using that word for a specific reason. So somebody would need to deploy a sense of urgency to make that successful. Because I mean, not everybody could pull that off.
Definitely not.
I
Oh,
mean, you're talking about it, and it's like the way you say it, you make it sound easy, right? But like switching a whole event a day before, I'm not sure. Is it possible? Yes. Is it possible for everybody? I'm not sure. And the reason I'm not sure is because I'm not sure everybody has the characteristics like a sense of urgency and other things that I'll let you go into to sort of make that happen. So we bring it back to the mindset that we originally spoke about in the beginning, the characteristics. So leadership, for example, a sense of urgency. So you spoke about leadership, wanting the best for the people that trust you. That's leadership.
Yes, sir.
So what are some of the other mindset traits, right, that could make something like that successful?
Discipline and faith. Discipline is faith based. Discipline is faith based. If you believe that you can do it and that you'll be successful, your body will be able to do it. I was watching something earlier, something about working out, and it says that your body will still perform long after your mind quits. Long after your mind has given up, the body will continue. Like the body, when you doing curls or push-ups or running, and you believe that you can't go any further, your body still can go. Your mind has just stopped, and as soon as your mind stops believing, your body stops and your body drops. Right. So it's the same thing. I have an innate deep sense of faith that it's optimism, that things are going to work out for the best. And when I'm presented with something, I realize and I determine that it's happened for a reason. And the reason why it's coming to my attention is because I can improve upon it. Remember, I look at things not as obstacles, but opportunities. So I didn't see it as an obstacle. I was happy that it happened. And people who were there with me, Shatasha had flown in, so she knows I looked at it, I realized it, and I didn't say, oh, this is messed up. I said, this is great, right? Now I get to find something better. And now I get to find something much more amenable, and we're going to have a much better situation. I literally drove around the corner, down the block a little bit, and found something better. And it was in the last moment, and it worked out for the best. I stayed late. I woke up early. I came extra early to ensure that everything was supposed to be the way it was, paid for everything. It was a little bit more because, and I didn't care about that because again, it's risk averse. You have to be risk averse. You have to inherit. That comes with leadership, guys. You want to lead something, but you don't inherit the risk. You want to be somebody, but you don't inherit the costs. You think it's not going to require risk, require cost, require a higher level investment than you've ever done before, than to become someone that you've never been before. You're under the belief, the false supposition that it's supposed to be microwave popcorn. But if you want, your life has been microwave popcorn, right? So if you want something more phenomenal, then it's going to require more time. It's going to require more input. It's going to require more studying. It's going to require more reading. It's going to require more nights up late and early mornings. It's going to require you to burn the midnight oil, as we say, and do some things that you've never done in order to become someone that you've never been, in order to do some things that you've never seen or thought as possible, to have some results that you never thought as possible, to become someone that other people never thought you could become, in order to provide for people things that were not provided for you, and things that they would not have provided for them had you not been the person that you were supposed to become through the process. The thing is, people tap out because they don't have the faith. They really don't have the faith in themselves. And we read the same books and we study the same stuff. But the thing that I see, again, it's perception. Again, it's reading into things. And again, it's levels. So the things that I read say to me that we were created to have dominion and become the vicegerent or the representative of on, right? Other people say, they read the same thing and they say, oh, help me. But when I read the book, it says that I've already been helped and created in the image of, endowed with the powers of, to be the creative present. So how do you go back to the person that gave you life and say the life is inadequate? The oxygen is inadequate. The brain that I've been endowed with is inadequate. The resources that you've given me are not enough. I can't. Now's not the time. It's not the best time right now. No, you're right. Now's not the best time. The best time was 10 years ago. So people wonder why we're here and why we're doing the things that we did. And that's because 10 years ago, I made a decision and I took a shift. And ever since then, I've been driving the car through every barrier mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, familially, and relationally. I've taken more risks than most people will ever imagine. And I've faced more what people would use as an example to stop. It was my proof and evidence of why to keep going. Again, it comes down to perception, discipline, and real applied faith. Write that down. Write that down, because a lot of people say I'm faithful and I believe, but you believe in concept. You believe in theory. You believe in vocal, like the pronunciation of the word faith. Faith is evidence of things unseen. So how do you bring into existence things that are only seen by your mind and felt in your heart? And it's not applied faith. It's not applied faith. It's applied
Applied.
faith.
It's
Applied
applied.
science. APPLIED.
It's right there. This guys, listen, put some flames in the chat for Shan. Like this is fire.
Steve Jobs, there was no smartphone. This is applied faith. This is applied faith because it didn't exist. This is applied faith because it didn't exist. No one else saw it. People said it was impossible. It was just like when he said, I'm going to create something that people will be able to put to their face and they'll be able to speak to people around the world. People said, you're crazy. The same way people said to other people that the earth was flat and they were crazy for venturing out because they said they were going to fall off the face of the planet Earth. The same way people told me to play it safe because if I didn't play it safe, I was going to go bankrupt, waste time, not be able to trust people to perform at their highest caliber, not be able to build a community, not be able to transform my life because of where I came from, not be able to become the leader that I saw in my mind that my children now see. All of these things are deemed impossible until someone takes the risk, and makes the reward a reality. Take the risk and make the reward a reality.
My question is this. Now I know you often say it's not about the what, it's about the who. But while you were speaking, I was picking up on this formula for the who. So I don't know if people realize it, but while Shan was speaking, Shan was telling you that the who evolves through applied faith. So you become the who, right? So Shan, what I'm saying is, how does one become the who? Think about it. This is very interesting, right? So it's not about the what, it's about the who. So the who, like if there was an equation, x plus y equals the who. If there was an equation, x plus y plus z, or x plus y minus z, or however you want to do it, equals the who, what would that equation be? Seems like he's formulating something, guys.
Give me 1 second.
And while Shan is doing that, I want you to put your equation in the chat. So everybody, I want you to put your equation in the chat. We're going for the who. So the who is the person that you would like to become. The who is the person that could get it done. So put it in the chat. What plus what equals the who? And we're talking about different characteristics like faith, like courage, like, you know, discipline.
Sometimes I do have to write stuff down, just so everybody's aware. Like I am human, right? So I do use ink. So what I wrote down is, and what you said to me, and what came to my mind immediately was that applied faith plus consistency results in rewards beyond belief or imaginable. Results and rewards beyond belief or imagination. Applied faith plus consistency, right? So applied faith You have to quantify it though. You have to determine what is applied faith. Applied faith is saying yes when you feel no. Applied faith is being able to empty your bank account in fear of it not working. Applied faith is the ability to keep going when others stop. Applied faith is the ability, I'm going to say that again. Applied faith is the ability to keep going when other people stop, and willing to be, and you have to be willing to be the only one left standing who believes in what you believe. And if you're the one who's supposed to get the results and get the reward, then you're the one who's supposed to take all the risk and make all of the investment. That's just what it is, guys. I wish it was different, but I've always made no excuses, taken all the responsibility, and not even let other people know how much of an investment I was making or how much of a risk I was taking or how early I was waking and how late I was going to bed. Sometimes I didn't even go to sleep 2 or 3 days because I had to study. I had to collapse time. I had to. Regular people do regular things to get regular results. They take regular vacations. They have a nice little small house and a nice little small car, and sometimes they get to go on a nice little small vacation and go to a nice little small restaurant. If you want things to be big, then you have to do bigger things. So what we do in order to get bigger things is we collapse time and we do the work of 3 years in one. So in 5 years, we can have 15 years of results. Watch this, guys. Watch this. Some people's 5 years is 5 years. Other people have learned or taken the applied faith consistently without seeing the results. That's a big part of it, without seeing the results, because faith is the belief in things unseen or the evidence of things unseen. So without seeing the results, they work 3 years in one. They don't take vacations. They make everything outside of food, clothing, and shelter goes to investments to become a bigger person, better person, faster. So 3 years of work in one, in the same 5 years that somebody sees 5 years of results, the person who puts 3 years of work in one sees 15 years of results. That's big, but it's not big enough. The person who does 5 years and puts 5 years of work in one sees 15 years of results in three.
This has been really good. This has been really good, and I see the formulas coming in. So I'm gonna read this
Scale
one, right?
you got to scale yourself. Everybody talks about scaling the business, scaling the numbers. If I just had more clients, no, you need to have more you. you need to scale you. When you scale you, your business will explode exponentially. But most people are looking for external results or external factors to impact internal gaps. They're like, if I only make more money, if I only had more people, if people only believed in me more. No, if you only believed in you more, other people would catch on. Your faith, write this down, guys. Your faith becomes contagious. Your faith in you becomes contagious. Have more of it. Other people might start to believe you. Maybe she is the person. Your faith is like an inferno. It catches fire and it lights up people next to you. You don't believe in you enough. If nobody believes in you, if nobody's following you, they're doing the same thing you do. When you're faced with the situation, you say no to it. So when they're faced with you as a situation, they say no to you. And I would too, because you train people how to treat you when they meet you by how you treat yourself.
We definitely do.
You train people how to perceive you. You train people how to perceive you by how you perceive yourself.
And by the way, that is Brandon. Just wanted to say that. But I wanna read this, right? So regular people do regular things to get regular results. Big people do big things to get big results. Super powerful. Super powerful. Shan, I want to read a few of these comments. We are beginning to wind down, right? Coming to the end of the show. Now, I want to read a few of these comments and then we'll segue into the rest of the show, guys. So if you enjoyed this morning, the rest of the show is happening this afternoon on the Leadership Live deep dive at 5, right?
Woo!
So we're gonna be talking about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about
We're
the
gonna be
sex.
talking about that. We're gonna be talking about that. So I want to read a few of these, right? So your faith becomes contagious. So my faith becomes contagious. When I believe in me, others will believe in me. I have to believe in me more than anyone or anything else. Very true. Um, Again, my faith becomes contagious. It seems like you're taking some people to church. So
The
it's
church
gonna
of
put that up there.
the church of you.
That's right. That's right.
He said I read where it says that you are the church. I am preparing I am preparing you. Like you are the church. You are the church. Other people look outside for it. And I don't have a problem with that. Sometimes you have to look outside of yourself to really find out what's inside of you. But I've heard that the kingdom is within you. We read the same things. We just perceive it differently. We focus on different passages.
Very true. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about the Leadership Live deep dive at 5 this afternoon. And number one, before we get into that, I want everybody to put it in the chat. Have you enjoyed this morning on a scale of 1 to 10? How has this morning been for you? Have you enjoyed the show? Have you enjoyed the conversation? Have you enjoyed the concepts? Have you enjoyed the analogies, the questions, right? Everything. Put it on a scale of 1 to 10. Phenomenal. So, if you enjoyed what you heard this morning in the short hour, like, can you imagine what's going to be taking place this afternoon? So, for those of you who don't know, we have this. It's not new, right? We did this during the pandemic. We did it
Yeah.
during. So, it's
Yeah.
not new. It's not new
Don't
at all.
call
It's
it
called
a
a
comeback.
leadership. It's
Don't call
actually a
it a
comeback.
comeback.
Yeah, that's right. It's a remix, right?
Don't call it a comeback. And we've been here for years.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So it's called a Leadership Live Deep Dive at 5. And it's going to allow us and going to allow you to go a lot deeper with us into these concepts, the mindsets, the skill sets that you need to be successful, not only in your entrepreneurial endeavors, but also in your personal endeavors. So this is not a comeback, this is a remix.
That's
This
it.
is the call. Listen, this is the call, right? That allowed us to do what we call going from crickets to digits. So trust me, the information there is, I'm just going to say it's super powerful. If you miss it, you risk getting left behind. Now, what I love to do, I like my team to put that link somewhere in the chat. Let's put it on all platforms. I'm going to put it up, right? So let's put it on YouTube, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, wherever we're streaming right now. This is 100% free of charge. And I encourage you to invite anybody else that you know needs access to this information. If you're a phenomenal friend, then you definitely want to share this with a friend. So it's the Leadership Live deep dive at 5. And I'm going to let Shan tell you a little bit more about that. So, Shan, what do you have in store for the people today?
Well, I think we'll just continue on where we're at now, right? So I don't want to deviate because we haven't begun to scratch the surface. I always say business is a spiritual game, and it is. And people always ask, what's your religion? And maybe I'll speak to that um, later on today, right? However, I am going to say that business is a spiritual game. Business is a spiritual game, and you'll find yourself and your self development through finding the gaps in your practice and finding the gaps in yourself, because your gaps in your life are the gaps in yourself that you should write down and maybe get a tattoo of. Many people don't like to see that. They want to blame Trump or the government or a specific demographic of people for the gaps that are inside of themselves. My mommy didn't do this, my daddy didn't do that. No, you're grown. That might have been true when you were 4. You might not have had food or clean clothes when you were 4 because you didn't have the responsibility or the ability to respond to the situation and go wash your own clothes. Now you can't blame anyone else for your lack of results in your life, in your business, in your health. That's a you thing. It's a you thing. I'm going to show you tonight how to conquer the you thing, Because when you conquer the you thing, you'll be able to conquer everything else. Everything else becomes easy.
That's right, guys. So it's tonight, in fact, this evening, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link should be right down there, if I'm not mistaken. So it's right there. Copy the link.
Let me say one more thing. I'm sorry, but I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry. I just got this idea. I got this thing.
Yeah.
Where I come from, people are very self and independent, very self-absorbed. It's all about them. I did this. I did this. I'm responsible for this. This is what I'm doing. I'm so phenomenal. I'm so great. But as soon as calamity falls them, they say, "Oh God, why?"
True.
So if you're responsible for the good, don't blame somebody else for the bad. That's a you thing too. If your results and your rewards are based on how phenomenal you are, then your gaps and your lacks and your holes are responsible. You're responsible for them too. You're responsible for it all. Your success is a you thing. Your failures are a you thing. Your bank account is a you thing. Your client list is a you thing. Your sales are a you thing. Your marketing is a you thing. Your relationships are a you thing. Your health is a you thing. Your six-pack abs or lack thereof is a you thing. It's all a you thing. That's what freedom is. The freedom to be creative in life and in business. Stop looking outside yourself. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Don't miss it. The you thing.
Right. With that being said, guys, I want to say thank you so much. This has been Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. Thank you so much. Have a phenomenal day, and we'll see you at 5. Let's grow.